Okay, well, I'm Maria Sosa, and I'm from here, from Memphis. I was born here, but I lived in Mexico City my whole life, and I just came back in 2020. So I'm a senior, and I'm expected to graduate in May 2024. My major is engineering technology with a focus in operations systems and lean principles and software design. Everything started back in Mexico when I started my career in industrial engineering. I decided to go for an engineer because I like the problem-solving part, and honestly it was more because I was interested in architecture and I had to choose kind of like an area in high school. So I went for mathematics and science, and then I changed my mind, so it was easier to go for an engineering. That's where I chose industrial engineering for problem solving, optimization, waste reduction. And then when I decided to transfer to the University of Memphis, since they didn't have that option, they offered me either engineering technology or engineering administration. And I just like how broad engineering technology is. You can go in any direction, and for instance, I changed my focus to software design, that it's also coding and programming. And I like to have the option to grab different areas and mix them up. Well, I chose the University of Memphis because, as I mentioned, I was born here in Memphis, so I wanted to come back here. And I had a professor advising me on the whole transferring process. So Memphis was very flexible about it. They guided me into choosing my major, and I really liked the professors and the program. So last semester I had an internship with Signify in Colorville. It was an on-site internship where I was working around 20 hours a week. It was a very interesting experience. I applied on it in LinkedIn, and when I applied for that internship, I was applying to a bunch of jobs, to everything that had engineering on it. So when they contacted me for the interview, I didn't really know who they were. So I went back to check the position, and it was for an electrical engineering internship. And I had no experience at all in electrical engineering, so I was a little worried that I wasn't qualified for it. But I still went to the interview. I really wanted to get the experience in the job. So, and I had already had like electricity labs. I've been writing lab reports for like 10 years now. So I thought if it was like experiments and writing reports, I could do it. So that's what kind of like got me to go to the interview. And when I was interviewing with them, they asked me what kind of focus I wanted to take. So I tried to see how this internship could lead to my major, so it could give me like valuable experience. And I thought about quality. So I taught them that I kind of wanted to go into quality, learn about that, and I had some background with IKEA for data analysis. So I brought that up in my internship, well, in my interview. And yeah, my project was related to quality based on data analysis. So it was great. I really enjoyed working with the team. They were very flexible, they were open to questions. And because I had no idea about electricity, like I just had the basics like Ohm's law, voltage, things like that. So they were open to every question, and I really enjoyed it. They had great activities. We volunteered one day. We had potlucks where everybody brought food, and it was a very diverse team. So we had food from India. I brought Mexican food from everywhere, really. I mostly learned Excel. Before starting the internship, I thought I was really good at Excel, and then I found out that I wasn't. My mentor was a pro in it, and he taught me everything about pivot tables, VLOOKUP, things that I didn't know how to use. And by the middle of the internship, I was using them constantly because I was kind of like in the rush to finish that deadline for the first part of the project. So I was using pivot tables like a natural at that point. And then I was working in a template for their quality test process, and we found the template that they were using in the Netherlands that had coding in it. It was kind of like VBA, so it was coding into Excel, which blew my mind because I never heard of that. So I had some experience with that as well. I modified that template to make it usable for that part of the company because it was destined for a different product. So yeah, definitely Excel and my presentation skills. I had several presentations along the way, and at some point I hosted a brainstorming session. So definitely talking with a room full of people, ask for feedback and things like that. I got more interest in continuous improvement and supply chain. While I was in the internship, we had several kind of like events where one person from the company would talk about their experience, how they started and what they're working on right now. So the head of supply chain was one of them, and he told us that he was an industrial engineer by accident, and I consider myself that as well. So I got really interested on his career, and he said he was working in supply chain and he liked it the most because of all the problem solving. He had to deal with supply chain during the pandemic, which was crazy, and I think that's something that I want to do. So currently I want to start in the continuous improvement part of my major. Then I would like to move to supply chain management and maybe eventually be a freelancer so I can have more flexibility in my schedule, or maybe get a role in supply chain where I can travel a lot and it's mostly remote. I would say that to apply to as many jobs as they can, even though it doesn't seem like that, you're always a little qualified for the position that you want. And you just have to dig into your skills. And something that worked for me a lot was, and this is an advice that one of the professors gave me, Professor Kennedy, when I told him that I was ready to quit my customer service job and I wanted to get an engineering job, he told me like, okay, start interviewing as much as you can. Even if you don't get the job, you get the experience. And also work in a portfolio that you can bring to the interviews and show them your work. When he said that, I realized that I didn't have one. I didn't have a portfolio nor anything to put in it. So in that moment, my manager at IKEA wanted me to work in an Excel spreadsheet just to put a bunch of data in it related to kitchen prices, because I sell kitchens at IKEA. Related to kitchen prices, zip codes, door fronts, and things like that. So what I did was to bring this Excel spreadsheet to a next level, where it was available to my manager and everybody who needed information from that. Because collecting data can be easy. You can collect as much data as you want, but if it's just sitting there, it's not valuable. You need to be able to read it and get information from that. So that's what I started doing, and that helped me to develop more skills in Excel. And that's what I talked about in my interview with the internship. I talk about how I was doing data analysis for IKEA, what I was seeing, the problems we were having, what I was proposing to solve them, and that's what got me the internship. So another advice that I have is that whatever you put on your resume, you have to be able to defend it and explain it. It doesn't matter if it has nothing to do with the position or the company. They want to know that you know what you're doing, that you understand it, and you have some passion about it.